My boyfriend, 27M, and I, 26F, have been together for 5 years and living together for 2. Overall, we have a loving and supportive relationship. We laugh a lot, take long walks, talk for hours, and genuinely enjoy each other's company. But there's one recurring argument that keeps resurfacing, and I honestly can't tell who's in the wrong. For context, my boyfriend is much more extrovert than I am. He enjoys staying home and playing video games or watching YouTube while crocheting, but he truly comes alive around other people. He's funny, energetic, loves dancing, and thrives at social gatherings. I'm more introverted. I love drawing, quiet afternoons, tea with friends, and low-key dinners or board game nights where I already know most of the people. Loud parties drain me quickly. Bright lights, loud music, hunger, cold, heat, all of it affects me fast. My social battery is limited, and once it's empty, it's empty. We're also both very careful with money. We rarely order takeout, never use taxis or Ubers unless absolutely necessary, and rely almost entirely on public transport. New Year's Eve situation. On New Year's Eve, we were invited to a party hosted by his friends. He was having a great time. I, on the other hand, felt awkward almost immediately. Most of the guests were strangers to me, and they all already knew each other. I knew my boyfriend and maybe 1 or 2 other people. I tried. I stood near the food table, made small talk here and there, followed him around occasionally but didn't want to cling. I smiled, nodded, pretended to vibe to the music. But as the night went on, the music got louder, people started dancing, and something in me just shut down. When strangers start dancing in crowded spaces, I freeze. I don't know how to explain it, I just feel overwhelmed and out of place. By 1 a.m., I was exhausted and deeply uncomfortable. I told him I wanted to leave soon. He said okay, soon. But soon stretched on. Every minute after I decided I wanted to leave felt like an internal struggle. He was laughing and dancing. I was frozen and counting the seconds. At 1:30 a.m., I told him again that I really wanted to go home. He reluctantly agreed but told me I was preventing him from enjoying himself. Taking an Uber was extremely expensive because it was New Year's Eve, and I didn't feel safe taking the subway alone at that hour due to drunk crowds. I wanted us to go home together. On the way home, he was cold and distant. He said he didn't understand why I couldn't just let him enjoy himself. I suggested that next time I could either not come or just take an Uber alone. But we both want to spend New Year's together. And realistically, he would never agree to spend that much on an Uber either. This happened twice on New Year's. The flea market situation. Recently, something similar happened. He's developed a big interest in flea markets. We've been going almost every weekend for 4 months. I don't enjoy them, they're crowded, noisy, and I feel emotionally drained seeing vendors standing in the cold trying to sell small items for very little money. That day, we first went to get bubble tea, my idea. We sat in a park, talked, and relaxed. It was February, and after sitting for a while, I got very cold. I mentioned it. We still went to the flea market as planned. It was huge. He was excited and moved quickly through the aisles looking for vintage watches. I tried to keep up, but after about 10 minutes, I was shivering uncontrollably. My hands were freezing, and my nails were turning blue. He offered me his jacket, but I didn't want him to be cold too. Eventually, I told him I would go home. He asked me to wait for him at the subway station so we could leave together. I waited, but it was just as cold there. After another 10 minutes, I texted asking if I could just go because I felt like an ice cube. When he arrived, I felt resentful. I wished he had immediately taken me seriously and left with me instead of finishing the market. He said I could have made an effort for him since he made an effort to go get bubble tea with me. But I feel like I make an effort every weekend by going to flea markets, even though I don't enjoy them. When it comes to feeling physically unwell or at risk of getting sick, I feel like he should prioritize leaving with me. Important detail. Once, we were at a birthday party for one of my friends. He got tired and wanted to leave. I wanted to stay a bit longer out of politeness since we hadn't even been there an hour. When we left, he was very upset that we didn't leave sooner. So, AITA for expecting my boyfriend to leave situations when I feel uncomfortable or physically unwell.
I am assuming if he offered you his jacket, you were either not wearing a jacket or your jacket was light. And if your hands were that cold, I am assuming you did not wear gloves. Knowing how cold February is, why would you not take basic precautions of wearing a warm coat and gloves knowing you would be outside at a flea market? And you really don't like it, so perhaps you never should have gone to it to begin with. It is okay to have separate interests. Perhaps you let him know you are not up for the flea market this Saturday afternoon but would love to get together later in the afternoon or evening time doing something else. It sounds like you do poor planning and then get upset at him. Edit, corrected typos.
I read this differently. As someone who gets cold very easily, I can be dressed in the warmest winter coat, a heated vest, heated socks, heated gloves, and still be too cold if exposed to the elements for too long. Everyone's body is different. It is entirely possible she was dressed for winter but simply outside in the cold too long for her body. She wanted to leave to take care of her own body while he continued shopping, but he didn't want her to do that, which isn't fair to her.